Sylvester Stallone built an impressive physique for Rambo, but it wasn't enough for the producers of Rambo 2. They wanted Sylvester to be 10 to 15 pounds heavier than in Rambo First Blood, which, given a year or two, might have been feasible. However, the producers told Sylvester's trainer, Franco Columbo, that if Sylvester didn't gain the weight in 8 weeks, he would lose the role of Rambo permanently. This wasn't the first time Sylvester had achieved incredible fitness. He looked great in Rocky 1 and 2, but it was in Rocky 3 that he truly took his physique to the next level. For the third installment, he wanted to be as lean and sculpted as possible, and he took steps to achieve this. He would do long morning cardio sessions, which usually consisted of running or swimming, followed by about 18 rounds of sparring. Afterward, he would go to the gym, where he would train for about 2 hours. When Sylvester was at his peak and leanest, he ate only small portions of oatmeal cookies, a few scoops of tuna, and up to 25 cups of honeyed coffee a day. But all the madness paid off, and Sylvester ended up with what was arguably his leanest physique of all time in Rocky 3. But right after filming Rocky 3, it was time for Sylvester to get to work on what would be his second award-winning film series with Rambo First Blood. We can see that while he still looks great, he's definitely less defined and less muscular in Rambo First Blood than he was in Rocky 3, which actually worked out well for both Sylvester's health and the first Rambo film. Maintaining the same routine Sylvester followed in Rocky for an extended period is a great way to do serious damage to both your metabolism and your overall health. After that, he took a break from playing any muscular tough guys until he returned in Rambo First Blood Part 2 3 years later. And as I said, about 2 months before filming began on Rambo, Franco Columbo, who trained Sylvester for Rocky 3, was approached by the producers of Rambo 2, saying they needed Sylvester to be 10 to 15 pounds heavier than he was in the first film. Someone with decent genetics can expect to gain up to 15 pounds of muscle in the first full year of training, even with performance-enhancing drugs, which Franco says Sylvester didn't take. Even with steroids, gaining 15 pounds of pure muscle in 8 weeks is wildly unrealistic. Shortly after this conversation between the producers and Franco, Sylvester called Franco late one night and told him it was an emergency and he needed to come in immediately. Franco agreed, and Sylvester came and said he wanted him to train him for the second film. Franco agreed and said they would start training in 2 days. But Sylvester clearly understood how insane it would be to look 7 kilograms heavier in 8 weeks. So he said, "No, we'll start right away." This surprised Franco, but after some convincing, their training began. Franco and Sylvester began training together again, following a similar program to the one they used for Rocky 1. He trained 6 days a week, twice a day, and here's his schedule. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, they trained chest, back, and abs. And in the evenings, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, they trained shoulders, arms, and abs. In the mornings, they trained legs, or rather, the lack thereof, and in the afternoon, shoulders and abs. It was definitely a very intense and often repeated training plan, but it's not as crazy as it might seem when you break it down. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays were the most stressful and challenging training days for Sylvester because that was when he trained the muscle groups he really wanted to focus on for his role as John Rambo: his chest, back, shoulders, and arms. Sylvester never trained his legs this intensely, and his abs and shoulders are relatively lightweight, even when trained intensely, as they are relatively small compared to other muscle groups. Sylvester only used this intense training regimen for the 8 weeks leading up to Rambo 2 to refine his physique. It's not a plan worth following indefinitely, especially if you want to maintain the lean physique he sported in the later Rocky films. Although little is known about Sylvester's training and diet between roles, judging by the fact that he was able to grow larger and larger as his career progressed, he must have spent time between films gaining muscle mass while maintaining a slightly higher body fat percentage before returning to a crazy high-volume training regimen and low-calorie diet to prepare for his next role. Of course, the program Sylvester followed played a key role in achieving his incredible physique in Rambo 2. However, what truly sets Sylvester apart from the crowd is his work ethic and ability to focus on a task or endeavor until the job is done. As I mentioned, in this program, and in most of Sylvester's workouts, legs were a secondary concern. Sylvester simply didn't enjoy training them, so Franco would throw in a few sets here and there, but the goal was never truly to strengthen Sylvester's legs. Some might resent him for skipping leg day, or at least neglecting it. But for many, this training style makes sense for an action star. The camera will be focused on the upper body anyway, So why spend hours training the most difficult and tiring muscle groups if they're simply hidden out of view or covered by pants? In reality, it would be much easier for Sylvester to stick to a truly high-volume workout if he didn't train legs so intensely. Leg training causes significantly more fatigue throughout the body than upper body training, simply because the muscles are so much larger and use so much more energy. Sylvester's training in the 8 weeks preceding Rambo 2 likely didn't reflect the type of training he was doing most of the time. And even if it did, Sylvester was an advanced weightlifter with years of experience. So, not only could he handle an insanely high training volume, but he actually needed it at times to ensure he could continue growing. But if you're someone who's been lifting seriously for less than a year, or someone who's been lifting for a long time, you won't need such insanely high training volumes. In fact, trying to train with the same intensity and volume as Sylvester could actually prevent you from seeing incredible progress in the long run due to burnout and overtraining. So, if you want to look like Rambo naturally without the use of performance-enhancing drugs, it's definitely possible. But it will take time and patience to build the necessary amount of muscle to truly achieve the Rambo look. That said, if you want to achieve the Rambo look as quickly as possible, this is the workout for you. You'll follow the free workout plan I'll provide at the end of the video. This program is a 5-day-a-week upper body program with 3 upper body days and 2 lower body days, with abs exercises included. When it comes to the weights you should use, make sure the weights you lift are heavy enough so that you only have 1 to 3 good reps to spare at the end of each set. If you're doing the program as a 3-day weekly plan, as we discussed earlier, follow it for 6 weeks before adding a second day for lower body. Then follow it as a 4-day weekly program for another 6 weeks before finally adding a 5th day and following it for another 6 weeks while continuing this program. If you feel you need to gain a significant amount of muscle mass, then eat in a slight caloric surplus of 200 to 300 calories. And if you think you have a lot of body fat to lose, follow this plan, eating as many calories as you need. How long you want to stick to this plan depends on how much muscle mass you want to gain, but at some point, to truly achieve that Rambo look, you'll need to cut weight to reveal all the beautiful muscle mass you've built. Steroids cause water retention in the body, and immediately you feel like you're getting bigger. That's water retention. And that's what steroids do. They increase muscle mass. And then you lose water, and then maybe you'll gain definition again. Franco didn't explicitly say Sylvester wasn't taking anything. He said he couldn't take anything without his knowledge. The reason his trainer said he didn't want Sylvester taking anything was because steroids cause short-term water retention, and they couldn't make Sylvester look bloated for a movie that was only 2 months away. But what he said about steroids causing water retention is actually untrue and a generalization. Some steroids, like testosterone, and hormones like growth hormone can cause significant water retention. But there are other compounds, like Anavar, that don't. Anavar is also known for its fat-burning and muscle-sparing properties, which is exactly what Sylvester wanted when preparing for Rambo 2. So Sylvester could have had access to at least one steroid that didn't cause water retention if he wanted to take them. You had 8 weeks to gain what looked like 10 to 15 pounds of muscle mass, and if you didn't, you'd lose a multi-million-dollar movie contract. Considering the amount of time Sylvester had to prepare for Rambo 2, I'm guessing he took something like Anavar to help him cut weight while maintaining, or perhaps helping him build, some muscle mass. Regardless, I believe that with enough hard work and consistency, most men can build a physique similar to Rambo's. And as promised, I've created a free plan to help you do just that. A focused training plan that can be followed in 3, 4, or 5-day weeks.